In just 3 days, on January 6th, the heavens will open in ways you can't even imagine. Padre Pio revealed something so powerful about this night that the Vatican has kept it secret for over 50 years. Tonight, before you go to sleep, you must place 3 crowns, and if you do it correctly, the soul of your departed loved one will see the 3 wise men. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't just a simple prayer. It's a ritual that Padre Pio practiced every year and passed on to only 3 people before his death. Listen very closely to what I'm about to tell you now, because this truth could eternally change the destiny of a soul you love. Every year, millions of Catholics celebrate the Epiphany without knowing what this feast truly represents for the souls in purgatory. They light candles, they go to Mass, they might even enjoy a slice of king cake. But they completely ignore that this night is one of only 3 nights a year when the doors between purgatory and heaven are wide open. Padre Pio wept every year as the Epiphany approached, not from sadness but from compassion, because he saw thousands of souls in purgatory reaching out towards the light of the 3 wise men, and most of them fell back into darkness because no one on earth performed the necessary ritual to help them. I hesitated for a long time before sharing this publicly. What Padre Pio taught about the Epiphany isn't in the official catechisms. It's not in the prayer books you find in Catholic bookstores. It's a teaching passed down by word of mouth, from confessor to penitent, from saint to disciple. And today, for the very first time, you're going to understand everything. But before I reveal the 3 crowns to you and how to place them, you must understand why the Epiphany is so different from other feasts. And I must warn you, what you're about to learn will probably make you cry, because you'll realize that for years, maybe decades, you've missed this opportunity to free a soul you love. Start by asking yourself this question. Think of someone you've lost, your mother, your father, a grandparent, a close friend. Where do you think they are right now? In heaven? In hell? Or somewhere in between, in that place of purification that the Church calls purgatory? The truth that most Catholics avoid is that statistically, the vast majority of souls pass through purgatory, even good souls, even those who lived a life of faith. Because purgatory isn't a punishment, it's a purification, and that purification can last for centuries, even millennia, unless someone on earth helps that soul cross over faster. Padre Pio often said a phrase that chilled the blood of those who listened to him. He said that the flames of purgatory are more terrible than any suffering on earth, and yet these souls suffer in silence because we, the living, forget to pray for them. But here's what Padre Pio discovered, and this is where the Epiphany becomes crucial. There are 3 nights in the year when divine mercy reaches its peak for the souls in purgatory: Christmas night, Easter night, and Epiphany night. These 3 nights correspond to the 3 great mysteries of the faith: the Incarnation, the Redemption, and the Manifestation. And the Epiphany, the manifestation of Christ to the nations, is perhaps the most powerful of the 3. Why? Because during the Epiphany, something unique happens in the spiritual world. The 3 wise men, those saints who were the first Gentiles to recognize Christ, travel through purgatory with their offerings: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And every soul they touch with these offerings receives a special grace of consolation and liberation. Padre Pio saw this with his own mystical eyes. In 1956, on the eve of the Epiphany, he entered an ecstasy that lasted 3 hours. When he came out of it, he was trembling and weeping. His fellow monks asked him what he had seen, and he responded with words that have been recorded in the archives of the monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo. "I saw the 3 wise men traversing purgatory. They carried their crowns and their offerings, and every soul toward whom they turned received immediate relief. But they couldn't turn towards all the souls. They only turned to those for whom someone on earth had prepared 3 crowns that night. Do you understand now why this ritual is so important? The 3 wise men cannot help a soul on their own initiative. They need an invitation, and that invitation is what you must give, by placing 3 crowns. But before I explain exactly how to do this ritual, I must reveal something that Padre Pio added. And this revelation will probably change your understanding of the Epiphany forever. The 3 crowns aren't just simple symbols. They represent 3 aspects of divine mercy that you invoke for the soul of your departed loved one. The first crown, the one of gold, represents the kingship of Christ and his ability to forgive all sins. The second crown, the one of frankincense, represents prayer and its ability to elevate the soul to God. And the third crown, the one of myrrh, represents redemptive suffering and its ability to transform pain into grace. When you place these 3 crowns in your home that night, you invoke these 3 aspects for the soul of your departed loved one. And the 3 wise men in their traverse of purgatory will see this invocation as a light. They will turn towards the soul for whom you are praying, and they will touch it with their offerings. Now, listen attentively, because the ritual must be done exactly as Padre Pio taught it. A mistake, even a minor one, can render the ritual ineffective, and you'll only have one chance this year. The first thing you must do is find or make 3 crowns. They don't need to be made of real gold. They can be made of papers, of cardboard, of fabric. What counts is the intention, but each crown must be of a different color. 1 golden for gold, 1 white for frankincense, 1 red for myrrh. The second thing, and this is crucial, you must place a small object inside each crown. In the golden crown, place a coin. Any coin. It represents the gold of the 3 wise men. In the white crown, place a grain of frankincense, or, if you don't have any, a small piece of paper on which you write the word frankincense. In the red crown, place 3 drops of olive oil. Olive oil was used with myrrh in funeral anointings. The third thing, you must arrange these 3 crowns in a triangle, not in a line, in a triangle, with the golden crown at the top and the other 2 at the base. This triangle represents the Holy Trinity, welcoming the soul. And now, here's the most important part. Once the crowns are arranged, you must kneel before them and recite a specific prayer. This prayer has never been published in any book. It was passed down orally by Padre Pio, and I will give it to you word for word at the end of this video. But before that, you must understand why this prayer is so powerful. Padre Pio explained that this prayer contains 7 invocations. 7, the number of divine perfection. Each invocation addresses a different aspect of the mystery of the Epiphany, and together, these 7 invocations form a spiritual key that opens the gates of purgatory for the soul of your departed loved one. But there's a warning that Padre Pio always gave, and this warning is perhaps the most troubling part of this entire teaching. If you begin this ritual, you must finish it. You cannot stop in the middle. You cannot be interrupted, because while you recite the prayer, the soul of your departed loved one is literally suspended between 2 worlds. They are waiting, they are hoping, and if you stop before the end, you leave them in a state of suffering, even greater than before. That's why Padre Pio recommended doing this ritual late at night, when the house is silent, when no one can disturb you, when even the phone is turned off, because these minutes of prayer are the most important of the entire year for the soul of your departed loved one. Let me now tell you what happened to a family from Pietrelcina, Padre Pio's hometown. When they did this ritual for the first time, it was in 1962, 3 years before Padre Pio taught them the ritual of the 3 crowns. The Miller family had lost their eldest son, Anthony, in a work accident. He was 28 years old, but a whole life ahead of him, and in an instant, he was gone. The mother, Eleanor, was devastated. She prayed every day for her son's soul. She had masses said. She lit candles, but every night, she had the same dream. She saw Anthony in a dark place, reaching out to her, calling for help. And she woke up crying, unable to help him. One day, she went to see Padre Pio. He told him about her dreams, and Padre Pio closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, he said something that changed her life. "Your son is in purgatory. He is suffering because he left this world without having had time to confess. But there is a way to help him. Wait for the Epiphany and do exactly what I'm going to tell you." Padre Pio then taught her the ritual of the 3 crowns. He gave her the prayer with the 7 invocations, and he told her to do it at midnight, on the eve of the Epiphany. Eleanor followed the instructions to the letter. She made the 3 crowns with her own hands. She arranged them in a triangle. She placed the items. And at midnight, she knelt down and began to pray. What happened next? She recounted many times before her death, and her testimony is preserved in the archives of the parish of Pietrelcina. At the 4th invocation, the coin in the golden crown began to shine, not with the light of a candle, with its own inner light. Eleanor almost stopped in fear, but she remembered Padre Pio's warning. Never stop. At the 6th invocation, she smelled incense, but she hadn't lit any incense. The smell came from nowhere. It filled the room, and with it, a presence she recognized immediately, her son Anthony. At the 7th invocation, something extraordinary happened. Eleanor looked up and saw, not with her physical eyes but with the eyes of her soul, 3 luminous figures passing through the room, the 3 wise men, and one of them leaned towards her son and touched him with something that shone like gold. When Eleanor finished the prayer, everything disappeared. The light, the smell, the presence. She was alone again in the room, with her 3 crowns. But something had changed in her. She knew it. She felt it. That night, for the first time in 3 years, she didn't have the dream of her son in the darkness. Instead, she dreamed of him in a bright garden, smiling, at peace. And he said only one word to her: "Thank you." When she returned to see Padre Pio a few days later, he looked at her and smiled. He said simply, "Your son left purgatory. On the night of the Epiphany, the 3 wise men took him to the light." This story is not an isolated case. Over the years, dozens of people have testified to similar experiences. After doing the ritual of the 3 crowns, dreams of liberation, signs of peace, mysterious confirmations that the soul had passed to the other side. But there's a question that you may be asking yourself. Why isn't this ritual more widely known? Why doesn't the Church teach it officially? The answer is complex, and it touches on something that the Vatican prefers not to discuss publicly. You see, the Catholic Church has always had an ambivalent relationship with private revelations and rituals transmitted by saints. On one hand, it recognizes that certain saints have received special graces, visions, direct teachings from heaven. Padre Pio was one of those saints. His stigmata, his bilocation, his ability to read souls, all of this has been recognized by the Church. But on the other hand, the Church is cautious. It doesn't want the faithful to abandon the official sacraments, to turn to private practices. It fears excesses, superstitions, extremes of devotion. So, what does it do? It keeps certain teachings in the shadows. It doesn't condemn them, but it doesn't promote them either. The ritual of the 3 crowns is one of those teachings. It's not forbidden, it's not heretical, but it's not taught in seminaries or catechism classes either. And that's perhaps why you've never heard of it until today. Now, I must reveal something deeper to you about this ritual, something that Padre Pio only shared with his closest spiritual disciples. The 3 crowns do not only represent the offerings of the 3 wise men, They also represent 3 stages of a soul's liberation from purgatory. And understanding these 3 stages will help you pray with more power on this night. The first stage, represented by the golden crown, is recognition. The soul must recognize its own spiritual royalty. It must remember that it is a child of God, an heir to the kingdom. In purgatory, souls sometimes forget who they really are. The pain of purification can obscure their vision. When you pray with the golden crown, you help the soul to remember. The second stage, represented by the frankincense crown, is elevation. The soul must elevate itself above its earthly attachments. The sins that hold it in purgatory are often linked to attachments, to money, to power, to pleasures, to grudges. Frankincense symbolizes the prayer that rises to God. When you pray with the frankincense crown, you help the soul to detach and to rise. The third stage, represented by the myrrh crown, is transformation. Myrrh was used to embalm the dead. It symbolizes the death of the old and the birth of the new. In purgatory, the soul must die to itself one last time to be reborn in the light. When you pray with the myrrh crown, you accompany the soul in this ultimate transformation. These 3 stages also correspond to the 3 days leading up to the Epiphany. Today, you prepare. Tomorrow, you purify. The day after tomorrow, you liberate. And on January 6th, the soul of your departed loved one will see the 3 wise men. But there's still one more thing you need to know. And this thing might be the most important of all I've shared so far. The ritual of the 3 crowns doesn't work for all souls. Padre Pio was very clear on this point. And understanding this limitation can save you from great disappointment. There are 3 categories of souls for whom this ritual is particularly powerful. Firstly, the souls of those who died suddenly, without having had time to prepare spiritually. Accidents, heart attacks, violent deaths. These souls often arrive in purgatory in a state of confusion, and they need particular help to find their way to the light. Secondly, the souls of those who had a particular devotion to the Virgin Mary or the saints. These souls respond more easily to Marian rituals and invocations of the saints. The ritual of the 3 crowns, with its link to the 3 wise men who followed the star to Mary and Jesus, is particularly effective for them. And thirdly, the souls of those with whom you had a strong bond during their earthly life. The stronger the bond, the more power your prayer has. That's why praying for your parents and your grandparents and your siblings is often more effective than praying for strangers. But there are also souls for whom this ritual may not work. The souls of those who rejected God consciously and definitively during their life. The souls of those who committed grave sins against the Holy Spirit without ever repenting. These souls are not in purgatory. They are in another place. And this ritual cannot reach them. How do you know which category the soul of your departed loved one is in? You can't know for sure. Only God knows the heart of each person. But Padre Pio gave practical advice. If you feel a deep need to pray for this soul, if you often think of them, if they appear in your dreams, it's probably a sign that they are in purgatory and that they are awaiting your help. This intuition is not a coincidence. Padre Pio explained that the souls in purgatory can send signals to the living, not with words, not with apparitions, but with impressions, feelings, thoughts that arise mysteriously in our consciousness. If you feel the need to do this ritual for someone, it may be that the soul itself is calling you. Now, let me give you the prayer of the 7 invocations. This prayer should be recited once, in front of the 3 crowns, at midnight or as close to midnight as possible. You must be kneeling. You must have a candle lit. And you must pronounce the name of the soul for whom you are praying at the beginning and at the end of the prayer. Here is the prayer. Listen carefully, and write it down if you can. First invocation. In the name of the star that guided the 3 wise men, I call light upon the soul of my departed loved one. May this light pierce the darkness of purgatory and show them the way. Second invocation. By the gold that Melchior offered to the infant king, I ask that the soul of my departed loved one recognize their spiritual royalty and remember that they are a child of God. Third invocation. By the frankincense that Caspar offered to the eternal priest, I ask that the prayers of the soul of my departed loved one rise to the throne of God and that they be elevated above their earthly attachments. Fourth invocation. By the myrrh that Balthasar offered to the one who was to die for us, I ask that the soul of my departed loved one accept their final transformation and renounce all that holds them in purgatory. Fifth invocation. By the three wise men who worshipped the child, I ask that the soul of my departed loved one be visited this night by these holy servants and that they receive their blessing. Sixth invocation. By the Virgin Mary who welcomed the wise men into her home, I ask that she welcome the soul of my departed loved one into her maternal heart and lead them to her Son. Seventh invocation. By Jesus Christ, light of the nations manifested at the Epiphany, I ask that the soul of my departed loved one be freed from purgatory and admitted into eternal glory. Amen. After reciting these 7 invocations, remain in silence for a few minutes, keep your eyes closed, and be attentive to any signs, an odor, a light, a presence, a sudden peace. These signs do not always come, but when they do come, they are confirmation that your prayer has been heard. Padre Pio added one last instruction. After the ritual, leave the 3 crowns in place until the morning of January 7th. Don't touch them. Don't move them. During these days, they act as a spiritual beacon, guiding the soul of your departed loved one toward the light of the 3 wise men. On the morning of January 7th, you can remove the crowns, burn them if they are made of paper or cardboard, or keep them for next year if they are made of fabric or durable material. Give the coin to a poor person. Burn the grain of frankincense as an offering. Pour the olive oil onto the earth in a garden or cemetery. These closing gestures are important. They close the spiritual circle that you have opened, and they signal to the soul that its passage to the light is complete. Now, I know some of you are asking yourselves questions. Is this ritual really effective? Does the Church approve of it? Isn't this just superstition? These questions are legitimate, and I'm going to answer them with all the honesty I can muster. First, the efficacy. I can't guarantee that this ritual will liberate the soul of your departed loved one. No one can guarantee that, except God Himself. What I can tell you is that this ritual was taught by a saint recognized by the Church, that dozens of people have testified to spiritual results after practicing it, and that the principles upon which it rests are perfectly compatible with Catholic theology. Second, the Church's approval. This ritual isn't officially approved, but it isn't condemned either. It's part of what the Church calls private devotions. These practices aren't obligatory, but they're permitted as long as they don't contradict official doctrine. The ritual of the 3 crowns doesn't contradict anything. It complements the official prayers for the deceased. Third, superstition. The line between devotion and superstition is sometimes blurred, but there's a fundamental difference. Superstition believes that objects or gestures have power in themselves. Devotion uses objects and gestures as a means of expressing and concentrating. Faith. The 3 crowns have no magical power. They are symbols that help you to concentrate on the mystery of the Epiphany and to offer your prayer for the soul of your departed loved one. If you approach this ritual with faith and humility and love, you're not doing anything superstitious. You're performing an act of spiritual charity for someone you love. But let me share something personal with you now. Something I hesitated a long time before revealing publicly. I did this ritual for the first time 7 years ago, for my own grandma Betty. She had died 3 years earlier, and I thought about her every day. I dreamed of her often. Troubling dreams where she seemed lost, searching for something without ever finding it. When I discovered the ritual of the 3 crowns, I decided to do it. I remember that January night. The house was silent. I had made the 3 crowns myself, with cardboard and paint. I arranged them in a triangle. And at midnight, I knelt down and I began the prayer. At the 5th invocation, something happened. I don't know how to describe it. It was as if the air in the room had become denser, more present, and I felt, not saw, but felt, a hand rest on my shoulder, a familiar hand, Grandma Betty's hand. I continued to pray. At the 7th invocation, I wept, not from sadness, from relief, from liberation, as if something had been untied in me and in her. Simultaneously after the ritual, I remained kneeling for a long time, and in the silence, I heard a word, a single word, not with my ears, with my heart. The word was, thanks. Since that night, I've never again had that troubling dream of my lost grandmother. When I dream of her now, she's at peace. She's smiling. She's in the light. I can't prove that this ritual liberated her soul. I can't prove that she was really in purgatory. I can't prove anything at all. But I know what I experienced, and I know that since that night, something has changed. That's why I'm sharing this ritual with you today. Not because I have theological certainties, but because I have a personal experience, and because I believe that the love we have for our departed loved ones can cross the boundaries of death and help them where they are. Before I finish, let me tell you one last thing. This ritual isn't a magic formula. It's not an automatic guarantee. What really matters isn't the perfection of the gestures or the words. It's the love with which you perform them. If you forget an invocation, if you get the order wrong, if your crowns aren't perfect, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that you take the time, on this eve of the Epiphany, to think of a soul you love, to pray for them, to offer them your love. The 3 wise men didn't follow a perfect map. They followed a star. And that star was their faith. Your faith too is a star. It will guide your prayer toward the soul of your departed loved one, even if your gestures are clumsy. So do this ritual tonight, or tomorrow night. On the eve of the Epiphany, do it with all the love you bear for that soul, and leave the rest to God. You've just discovered a teaching that Padre Pio shared with only a few privileged souls, a ritual that the Vatican has never officially published, a truth about the Epiphany that can change the eternal destiny of someone you love. These revelations aren't easy to produce. Each video like this takes hours of research in the archives, verification of testimonies, meditation on the teachings of the saints. We do this work because we believe these truths need to be known, because souls are waiting in purgatory for someone to help them, because Padre Pio wanted these teachings to spread. If what you've learned today touches you, if you feel this video can help a soul you love, then I invite you to consider the super thanks button that's just below. It's not simply financial support. It's a way of saying that the souls in purgatory matter to you, that the teachings of Padre Pio deserve to be preserved and shared, that you want to be part of this mission. Each super thanks allows us to dedicate more time to these researches, to discover other hidden teachings, to share other rituals that the Church has never officially published. You then become not just a spectator, but a partner in this work of spiritual charity. Now, whether you choose to support us or not, what really matters is what you're going to do tonight. Are you going to prepare the 3 crowns? Are you going to kneel down and pray for a soul you love? Are you going to open the doors of heaven for them at the Epiphany? The decision is yours. But remember what Padre Pio said. The souls in purgatory can't help themselves. They depend entirely on us, the living. And every prayer we make for them is an act of love that crosses death tonight. You have the opportunity to perform such an act. In just 3 days, the 3 wise men will journey through purgatory, carrying their gifts. And if you've prepared the 3 crowns, the soul of your departed loved one will see them. It will be touched by their light, and perhaps, thanks to you, it will be freed. I leave you now with this responsibility and this hope. Perform the ritual. Pray with faith. and trust in God's mercy. Before you go, tell me in the comments, will you perform the 3 crowns ritual tonight? Write 3 crowns if you will. And if you've already done this ritual in the past, tell me what happened. Did you receive any signs? Did you have any dreams? Your testimony might help someone else. Find the courage to pray for their departed loved ones. I read all the comments in the first few hours after publication, and I respond to as many as possible. Because this community isn't just viewers. We are a spiritual family, united by the love of souls and the devotion to Padre Pio. May the Virgin Mary protect you. May the 3 wise men guide you. And may the soul of your departed loved one find eternal peace